The sound of hurried footsteps outside the school gate made Ethan Mercer stop breathing for a moment. The CEO of Mercer Global Industries was a man feared in boardrooms and admired on magazine covers. But that afternoon, standing inside his black car across the street from his daughter's school, he felt something he had not felt in years: fear. His 10-year-old daughter, Lily, was not heading toward the waiting driver. Instead, she slipped through the side gate, looked over her shoulder, and hurried toward the older maintenance building behind the school gym. Ethan watched her small figure disappear near the storage area, where students were forbidden to go after classes. And something inside him whispered that this was not the first time. If you believe kindness and second chances can change lives, take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that stay with the heart. For most of the city, Ethan Mercer had everything. At 42, he had built one of the largest technology companies in the country. Newspapers called him brilliant. Investors called him unstoppable. Employees called him demanding but fair. Yet behind the polished interviews and expensive suits lived a man carrying a quiet emptiness that no achievement could fill. 3 years earlier, Ethan had lost his wife, Claire, to a sudden illness. The loss had shattered their home. Lily had been only 7 then. Since that day, Ethan convinced himself he was surviving for her. He bought her everything she could want, hired tutors, enrolled her in the best private academy in the city, and surrounded her with every comfort money could provide. But grief had a cruel way of hiding inside silence. The mansion grew larger and colder with each passing year. Dinner conversations became shorter. The sound of sound. Laughter disappeared. Ethan buried himself in work because work obeyed logic. Numbers made sense. Meetings followed schedules. Contracts could be controlled. Children could not. And somewhere between business flights and shareholder meetings, he failed to notice how distant Lily had become. Recently, strange things had started happening. Her teachers reported declining grades. She seemed distracted and withdrawn. Twice she claimed she forgot her lunch, even though the house staff packed it carefully. Most worrying of all, she had started asking unusual questions. Questions about loneliness. Questions about people who had no families. Questions about whether someone could be good even if the world treated them badly. Ethan answered politely but briefly, assuming it was another phase. Until that afternoon, he stepped out of the car and followed. The late autumn wind carried dry leaves across the pavement as he moved carefully along the fence beside the maintenance building. He felt ridiculous hiding behind brick walls like a suspicious stranger, yet concern pushed him forward. As he approached, he heard laughter, not the loud, careless laughter of children at play. This was softer, gentler, the kind of laughter he had not heard from Lily in years. Ethan looked around the corner and froze. His daughter sat on an overturned crate beside the school janitor. The man looked to be around 60, thin shoulders, weathered hands, gray hair beneath a worn cap. His faded maintenance uniform hung loosely on his frame. The janitor was known around school simply as Walter. Ethan had seen him before in passing but never truly noticed him. Now he watched Walter carefully fixing a broken wooden birdhouse, while Lily sat beside him holding nails and smiling. A strange discomfort rose inside Ethan. Why was his daughter secretly spending time with the janitor? Why hide it? He remained unseen and watched. Walter handed Lily a small paintbrush. She concentrated seriously while he worked on the roof of the birdhouse. Their movements carried the comfort of familiarity. This had happened many times before. Ethan felt something sharp tighten inside his chest. The next morning, he called the school principal. The principal seemed uncomfortable. She explained that Lily occasionally visited Walter after school, but insisted there had been no inappropriate behavior. Walter had worked there for nearly 15 years. Students loved him. Teachers respected him. He was dependable and quiet. But Ethan was not reassured. He had spent his life learning one lesson: trust should be earned. And secrets worried him. That evening he asked Lily about her day. She answered politely, but guardedly. When he mentioned the janitor, her face changed, not guilt, Not fear, protectiveness, that unsettled Ethan more than anything. He considered forbidding her from staying after school. But something stopped him, perhaps guilt, perhaps curiosity, or perhaps the painful realization that his daughter trusted someone else more than she trusted him. So the following day he followed her again. This time he watched longer. Walter and Lily were not merely talking. They were repairing old objects collected from discarded school storage, broken toys, cracked flower pots, abandoned shelves. Walter showed her how damaged things could still become useful. The old man moved slowly, patiently, never rushing her. And Ethan noticed something else. Lily talked. Really talked. Really talked. She spoke with animation he had not seen since Claire died. Walter listened without interrupting. The sight disturbed Ethan in ways he could not explain. For the first time, he confronted an uncomfortable truth. His daughter was not hiding danger from him. She was hiding comfort. Days passed. Ethan kept watching. What he discovered slowly unsettled every assumption he held about the old janitor. Walter arrived before sunrise. He cleaned classrooms no one appreciated. He repaired desks instead of replacing them. He fed stray cats behind the cafeteria. He quietly left sandwiches near the school fence, where homeless people sometimes passed. No audience, no recognition, just quiet acts of care. One rainy afternoon, Ethan saw something that shook him. A boy from 7th grade stood near the dumpsters crying. Walter approached and simply sat beside him beneath an umbrella. No dramatic gestures, no lectures, just presence. Eventually, the boy stopped crying, and somehow that simple moment stayed with Ethan long after he drove away. Yet, suspicion still lingered. Successful men often carried distrust like armor. Ethan decided to investigate. His assistant prepared a background report. What Ethan read late that night left him stunned. Walter Hayes had once been a respected architect. 30 years earlier, he designed award-winning public buildings and owned a successful firm. Then, tragedy struck. A construction accident killed his wife and teenage son. Walter blamed himself. Depression consumed him. His business collapsed. He disappeared from public life and eventually took maintenance jobs to survive. For 15 years, he had worked quietly at the school. No scandals, no complaints, no criminal history, only loss. Ethan stared at the report in silence. For reasons he could not explain, the details unsettled him deeply. Walter had once stood where Ethan stood now. A husband, a father, a man broken by grief. That realization stayed with him. Then came the afternoon, everything changed. Ethan arrived at school early and found unusual tension near the administration office. Parents gathered in worried clusters. Teachers whispered. Inside, when he learned disturbing news. Several expensive tablets had disappeared from the media lab. Rumors spread quickly, and somehow suspicion landed on Walter. A wealthy parent insisted the janitor had access to every room. Another parent claimed they had always felt uncomfortable around him. The principal looked troubled. Walter stood nearby, silent and pale. Ethan watched the scene unfold. He expected anger from Walter, defensiveness. Instead, the old man lowered his eyes and accepted humiliation with heartbreaking exhaustion. Then Ethan saw Lily. Tears filled her eyes, and suddenly she stepped forward. Her small voice trembled as she defended Walter. With desperate certainty, she insisted he would never steal. But adults rarely trust children during moments of accusation. The room ignored her. Something inside Ethan twisted painfully. He knew this feeling, the helplessness of not being believed, the cruel ease with which people judge those without power. And, for the first time, he noticed the invisible divide inside the room. The wealthy parents stood together. Walter stood alone. That night, Ethan could not sleep. His thoughts returned again and again to Walter's defeated expression and Lily's heartbreak. The next morning, he did something unusual. He canceled meetings. Instead of going to headquarters, he returned to the school. He found Walter behind the gym cleaning leaves. The old man looked tired, and although they exchanged only brief words, Ethan noticed something startling. Walter was not angry about the accusation. He was sad for Lily. That realization landed heavily. Later, school security footage revealed the truth. 2 students had taken the tablets as a reckless prank. Walter was innocent. Relief spread quickly through the school. But relief did not erase damage. The parents who doubted him offered awkward apologies. Some avoided eye contact entirely. Walter accepted their words with quiet dignity. Yet, Ethan saw the hurt lingering behind his calm expression. That afternoon, Lily ran to Walter with tears of relief, and Ethan finally walked toward them. For a moment, none of them spoke. The autumn light painted long shadows across the courtyard. Walter looked uncertain. Lily looked frightened. Perhaps she feared punishment. But Ethan surprised even himself. He apologized. Not because he had accused Walter publicly, but because he had judged him privately. Because he had assumed status revealed character. Because he had failed to see the humanity standing before him. Walter accepted gently, and then something unexpected happened. They sat together, the CEO, the janitor, and the little girl. And slowly, truth surfaced. Walter explained that Lily first approached him months earlier after finding him repairing an abandoned birdhouse. She reminded him of his son's gentle curiosity. He never tried replacing her father. He simply listened. Lily, with heartbreaking honesty, admitted why she kept the friendship secret. She feared Ethan would disapprove. She feared he was too busy. And deepest of all, she feared losing one more person who made her feel understood. Those words broke something open inside Ethan. He realized his daughter had not needed expensive gifts. She needed presence. She needed grief acknowledged. She needed her father. Before the ending, here is a special request for everyone watching. Comment the word hope if you believe one act of kindness can change someone's life forever. Winter arrived slowly, and with it came quiet transformation. Ethan began leaving work earlier. He attended school events. He cooked badly but sincerely with Lily on weekends. Sometimes they visited Walter together. The old janitor taught them woodworking and showed them how broken things could become beautiful again. And perhaps that was the greatest lesson of all. Months later, Ethan funded a new community workshop at the school. Not in his own name, but in memory of Walter's wife and son. The workshop welcomed students who struggled, grieved, or simply needed a place to belong. At the opening ceremony, Ethan watched children laugh among tools and paint and unfinished dreams. Walter stood nearby with tears hidden behind quiet eyes, and Lily stood between them both, smiling. Ethan finally understood something success had never taught him. People are not measured by titles, not by wealth, not by the shine of office doors or the size of homes. Some of the richest souls wear worn uniforms and carry invisible scars. The CEO had followed his daughter expecting betrayal or danger. Instead, he discovered truth. He discovered humility. He discovered kindness hiding where society rarely looks. And most unexpectedly of all, he discovered the father he still had time to become. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to support more emotional stories that remind us what truly matters. Your engagement helps these messages of compassion and second chances reach more people who may need them. Long after the ceremony ended and the courtyard emptied, Ethan looked toward the workshop windows glowing softly in the evening light. Inside, Walter and Lily were finishing another birdhouse. And for the first time since Claire's death, Ethan no longer felt like a man merely surviving. He felt home returning. Sometimes the greatest truths are not hidden in boardrooms or fortunes. Sometimes they wait quietly beside a janitor holding broken pieces, patiently teaching us how to rebuild what we thought was lost forever.